Hello everyone, my name is Loco and welcome to a best of 3 series of top level StarCraft 2. It's time for a Protoss versus Zerg. We're in the top left hand corner in game number 1. We're looking inside of the main base of MaxPax. And his opponent down in the bottom right with the blue Zerg pieces. He goes by the name of Solar. Alrighty. These two, of course, absolute world-class competitors. This series is going to take place on the new maps from the TLMC. So apparently on the first one, we find ourselves on 10,000 feet. Which I gotta say, again, is a lot more feet than what I am used to. Either way, I think I've actually only seen one game on this map so far. It doesn't seem to be too popular compared to the other finalists. But usually, that doesn't necessarily mean the map is bad. It's just that the pro gamers have decided not to pick it. So in case you're unfamiliar, usually whenever you're playing in a StarCraft 2 tournament, say you're a competitor, and that will be the case for these guys as well, you will get to choose the maps that you play on. So effectively, say for example there's like a 9 or a 7 map pool, the players that play a best of 3 will take some turns doing vetoes for the maps they don't want to play on, and then they will, with the leftover maps when they have the appropriate number, they will take turns choosing the map order. And usually, over the years, the pro gamers will go for the more conventional maps, the maps that are just not too complex. The thing is, StarCraft 2 is a difficult game as it is. Obviously, there are some folks out there that really do like going for the super strategic and difficult to play maps. But StarCraft 2 is a very hard game as it is, and usually the more standardized maps do rise to the top. Makes me wonder if maybe 10,000 feet has something that the players don't necessarily love. It's got these skinny mineral fields over here leading to a base right over there. We've got these tentacle rocks as well that bleed out by about minute 8. You have no ramp, and this is usually something that pro gamers are very picky on as well, I've noticed. Having a ramp that leads towards the natural expansion, aka the natural expansion being up on a high ground, usually is also favored because it allows for a more macro-style game, especially by players like MaxPax, who rarely go for cheese themselves. This is one of the maps where Zerg could get aggressive. Say, for example, you're doing like a Queen Ravager push with like a Zergling flood on the back of this, or maybe like a Queen Drop or a Nidus cheese or anything along those lines. It is way easier to execute on a map that does not have a ramp right over here. Either way, Stargate build for now. No surprise there. MaxPax usually likes to go for at least mostly the same strategies with small deviations. I'm not exactly sure what Solar is currently favoring in this matchup. So Solar, on the whole, is a very macro-oriented Zerg. For example, if we see him play against Terran, he will basically defend until he has like 4 or 5 base worth of economy, maybe some Zergling run-bys. But usually Solar is very passive and really just treats himself as a punching bag until he gets lurkers out. I'm not exactly sure how he's currently approaching ZVP on the new patch. I don't believe you can be quite as passive. Maybe you could do something with like Ultra Infestor or something along those lines. But there's not really as good a jack-of-all-trades type of strategy like lurkers are in Zerg versus Terran. You do have to generally mix things up a little bit. And it also very much so depends on what the Protoss player is going for. For now, Oracle will be flying across. We do have a pretty quick second gateway. It's going to delay the timing of the third Nexus. Yeah, Oracle did go across. Now has to go back home in order to try and defend. So that's already a nice little effective Zergling push, even though he did lose a bunch of the Zerglings. Just keeping that adept. Keeping that Oracle pinned back. Really nice. Second Oracle now available, so at the very least we will have some measure of defense. He's trying to get the Oracle to activate Pulsar Beam. Activating Pulsar Beam does take energy. He did it right when he also had to defend at home. So the way that the Oracle works, by the way, in case you're not 100% sure. So when the Pulsar Beam is active, it consumes energy over time. Things like, for example, a Stasis Ward are just a flat amount of energy, and it's the same as well for the Revelation ability. That's just always the same energy cost. But in order to get the Pulsar Beam to activate, you have to pay energy just to start the beam. So it's not like you're getting points of damage out of every single one. So meaning that if you can just sacrifice a couple of Zerglings and reduce the energy on the Oracle, that may already be worthwhile. We are, however, following this up right now with a Glaive to Depth push. I wouldn't say this has been really an early game here for Protoss to write home about. He hasn't really done a lot of damage. He hasn't really lost anything too critical either, but I'm always a big fan of these adept follow-ups, especially when you've had a flying early game. Speaking of flying early games, Solar is going Pneumatized Carapace together with a Lair. Yeah, maybe it is because of this flat open terrain right here. This looks a lot. I mean, there's a 4th base on the back of this, and we do still have drone production, but this looks a lot like a Queen drop. We haven't really seen those strategies ever since they made the Queen more expensive. A lot of Adepts hiding behind the wall off as well, and this is really quite aggressive for at least what both players usually like to go for. They're trying to trick one another, and assuming the Adepts get cleaned up, Solar has already been making units for a while. I think he should have the troops available for it. Assuming... Oh, kills his own creep tumor there just so he can make a wall off. Assuming this gets cleaned up, I think you can immediately retaliate with a Queen drop to the other side of the map. Good counsel right there from MaxPax if he decided to commit there. All of those Adepts would have died. And he would have Brandon, Karen, Lily, and Susan, the Queens, knocking at his natural expansion within minutes. Oh, actually, he canceled Overlord speed, and now he restarts it again. Wait a second. I thought it was already finished. He certainly had it on the production tab earlier, decided to cancel it, and now restarts it yet again. So Solar probably is gonna still commit to it, despite the fact that he reconsidered after reconsidering it twice already. The Adepts, the Oracles, nothing has really achieved too much. Seeing the Overlord, though, Morph, is really handy here for MaxPax, who's now using these Adepts as a way to leverage his way into a 4th base, as a way to go into the Blink upgrade. You can already see it reflected right now in the worker count. We have 56 drones versus 66 probes. So even though these Oracles and Adepts haven't really done too much as far as like direct damage goes, they have really slowed down the Zerg economy a ton. Can we still commit to anything? We do have one Dropper Lord right over there. He's going to go for a second one as well. There is certainly a time when Overlord drops don't work that well anymore. And I think the window is rapidly closing. I mean, if Protoss can blink underneath these Overlords and snipe the Queens as they are inside of them, that's going to be all of the units gone in one fell swoop. A lot of vision around the map. MaxPax now sees one of the Dropper Lords. He's got to be wondering what's inside of that cargo for now. Could it be empty? Very messy, scrappy game thus far. But you can see that Solar, not really making a drone in the last few minutes, is starting to pull ahead significantly in that supply count. Stalkers have to run all the way towards the top right-hand corner, which is where that newly made Nexus just finished up. Queens are heading on over in this direction too. A bunch of Adepts, though, have shaded past all of this, and he is starting to hurt the Zerg economy quite a bit. But what about the counterattack? I feel like this is where we need to keep the camera pointed. How in the world is MaxPax going to be able to contest with all of these Zerg units? And this is an attack from Zerg that we haven't really seen yet on the new patch. Nothing's changed much, it's just that the map is just a little bit better than the maps in the current map pool are for these type of attacks. At least I believe so. Only time will tell. I really love that little Adept counterattack, though, from MaxPax. He actually did kill 11 drones worth. Still allowing MaxPax a significant worker lead. 41 versus 59 is huge, but it is all under the presumption that he actually defends against this push. Keep in mind that making Stalkers requires a Cyber Core. New Cyber Core, therefore, is already building inside of the main base. Creep spread over here is really lovely. We have the Roaches still running around as well. Those workers from the 4th base are trying their absolute best. A Zealot Warpin is going to be huge with, Charge now finishing up too. If maybe he can collapse on top of all of these units, MaxPax might still be able to stabilize. 3rd Nexus falls, but he doesn't really need that. Probes are going to also well, mostly fall in even bigger numbers, but I think MaxPax is still okay. Queens, though, have joined in this party yet again. Zealots have been cleaned up. Oracles are out of energy. It's a scrappy, it's a messy match. Zealot run by now. Okay. Honestly, this could be huge for Max. If anything, he's gonna distract the reinforcing units and potentially even force the Protoss, or the Zerg rather, to reinforce this and maybe go all the way back. Solar does not decide to take the bait. Ooh, he does bile down one of those Oracles here, but he does not take the bait and send his entire army back home. Stalker numbers, though, are growing. There's very little detection available now. With the Oracles falling, actually, there's none. Fourth Nexus here in a world of trouble. All of the corrosive balls, though, are condensed in one spot, and they were easily blinked over. MaxPax is going to keep this fourth base alive. Okay. 38 drones remain. Main base is running dangerously low. MaxPax needs to micro these Stalkers to the best of his abilities, but he's got some of the very best Stalker micro in the entire world. He's been doing this for years against Terran. He's rarely in a situation like this against Zerg, but I'm sure he's going to be able to figure out a way to get the job done as far as Stalker micro goes. The longer that this fight takes, the better it's going to be for Protoss. MaxPax has found another place for those probes of his to mine. Now, that was a good set of biles. Keep in mind that these fights are taking place on creep. Makes it far easier for Solar. He's been spreading it backwards from the third of the Protoss player towards this top right-hand corner and, well, I guess in the direction of his own bases. Oracle, though, has joined in yet again. That's a brand new Oracle, and it's targeting down the Ravagers in particular. It's been scrappy, it's been messy, but MaxPax wins game number 1. Excellent crisis management from MaxPax. Many Protoss players would have been overwhelmed by that Zerg attack. The Queen drops are very finicky, very difficult to micro against. Keeping that Nexus in the top right-hand corner alive proved to be absolutely critical. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Winter Madness. I really felt like Solar's attack there, though, when he was knocking on the opponent's natural expansion. It really felt like Solar was just moments away from obtaining the victory. MaxPax stabilizing there in such a chaotic spot is really nice. I feel like one of the big keys there was him preemptively building the Cybercore up. So he started up a new Cybercore long before the first one ended up going down. He was forced to do one warp-in of Zealots, but he just finished up charge, so it wasn't really the end of the world. Cleaned up the Roach counterattack in the top right-hand corner with that, and then used those Zealots for a little bit of a counterattack on the Zerg's mineral lines as well. Always nice to see. But then he went straight back into Stalker production again. It's very expensive, right? When you're playing a low eco game, to be rebuilding a Cybercore before the first one ever goes down. I mean, sometimes we wonder, why don't we see that more often? And the simple reason is that it's 150 minerals. When you're already scraping for cash, it is a difficult call to make. All right. Now, I'm expecting that we are going to be seeing pretty much only Stargate-based openers. Stargate is just such a phenomenal start, right? It's just such a powerful early game option. Technically, you can open Robo. Technically, you can go Twilight Council, and we see that every once in a while from the likes of Hero. MaxPax, though, I feel like in every single ZVP that I've seen him play over the last year, he has gone for, at least in a normal early game, right? He's gone for a Stargate-based opener. Maybe if it's like a proxy hatch or something wild and wacky from the Zerg, he will be forced to mix it up. But he's a big fan of starting off at least with a Stargate and then transitioning after that, there we go, into something a little different. Okay. I'm expecting a third hatchery here from Solar. Question is, where do you build it? Winter Madness, by the way, yet again a map that does have a ramp over here, but nothing leading up towards the natural. So again, a build like, for example, a Queen drop might just be viable, although it would be slightly more difficult to execute. I actually think I like it better when this open bit of terrain is accessible for attacks. I just, in general, miss the more aggressive early mid-game openers for Zerg. I've said this a million times already in the past, but it kind of feels like all of the top-level Zerg players have unanimously agreed that the best way to play is always macro and always passive. It wasn't always like that. Still, though, that previous game was very aggressive, at least for Solar standards. And it didn't end up working out. Now, it's a Void Ray first here for MaxPax. I'm assuming we're going Overlord hunting. I really like that he's not immediately going for this Overlord over here. That Overlord is already dead. He doesn't know it yet, but it's very unlikely that this Ovi is going to be able to hide. Instead, he wants to get this Overlord out at the front. He's seen it when he scouted on the other side of the map. So he already knows that the Overlord is located at the third. It's pretty much a guaranteed kill if it's still there. Solar, though, already moved it back. MaxPax is looking. He's like, hey, where is it? Where is it? There it is. Make the beam thick. I think you make the beam thick. No? He will still kill it. Oh, oh. Messy. Kinda hate that, to be honest. MaxPax could have activated Prismatic Alignment earlier, and then he should have finished off the Overlord faster. Not shift queuing the OV, or the Void Ray rather, really did cost him. It allowed those queens to get a few extra hits in, and now the Void Ray is at half health. Could have been avoided. Ooh, we're gonna get another Overlord. Zergling run by, still being a nuisance. There is one Oracle available at this point in time. I think the Adepts, though, with clever positioning, are gonna be able to clean this up by themselves. And now we go for Otto. Now this Void Ray, yep. Poor Otto, man. This Void Ray has a taste for blood. And while this Overlord has been kept alive, like a pet, in the Protoss base for a while longer, well, winter has arrived. And it's time for an Overlord feast. Look away. Look away, Zerg players. It's a sad moment, but you know what? This is how people lived for hundreds of years, okay? Maybe your family owned a goat, or a pig, or a rabbit. I don't know. It's only Christmas once a year. You gotta sacrifice Otto every once in a while. It's sad, but it's how humans survived. Alright, Hydralisk then, coming up. It's going to be Roach Hydra here, it looks like, for Solar. So maybe he will be opting for a more conventional start this time around with, I mean, maybe a transition towards lurkers. I'm not exactly sure what he's even his normal style to play at this point in time. Templar Archives, though, for MaxPax 2, so we will be seeing Storm in a moment. This fourth base feels very exposed. Maybe he wants to go for the one on the right. I'm not exactly sure. Void Ray Man still going to town. Oh my god. Are you gonna sack yourself just to kill Overlords? Really? Alright. MaxPax had to put that Void Ray down. He knows that once they get a taste for blood, there is no way around it anymore, man. Like a mad dog, that Void Ray had to be put down. The thing is, this is war. It's very useful to have something available to defend your bases against the Zerg. Either way, Storm is coming. Sometimes you need to open up some hotkeys, right? A little bit of supplies, some hotkeys. Maybe some mental wiggle room as well. Ooh, a couple of Zerglings looped up in Vaseline before they left the spawning pool. In case you've been wondering what the green juice over here inside of it, it's Vaseline. Very slittery. Storm is going to be an absolute necessity, though, here. Hydras do not have their speed upgrade just yet, although it's coming. Storm is done at this point in time. Fourth Nexus here, like I said, very exposed. Cancels immediately. No way that you're going to be able to hold on to that. And there is a lurker then coming, together with an infestation pit. So I would imagine a hive here in just a moment. Lovely timing attack here, actually, by Solar. We haven't really seen Zerg go for timing attacks over the last year. This was a move out with only Hydra speed. He knew that likely there was going to be Storm done. But you can still micro against it when you don't have the absolute largest numbers of units. It's also because of the map. Winter Madness seems to invite these type of playstyles a little bit more. Yeah, and Solar again being the aggressor. I really like this. Multi-pronged harassment. It's basically pure Hydra with some Zerglings to boot, but the Zerglings really just when the gas ran out. Solar right now, though, saving up gas so he can go into lurker play here in a moment. Gets another cancel on another 4th. These units may be in some trouble. Slithering their way back towards the safety of the creep. If the creep threat was a little bit further out, I think he would have been able to save more of the Hydralisks. But the lurkers are coming. Dude, this is exactly the playstyle that I have been missing from Zerg. It's nice to see some, you know, attacks before the late game. I know it sounds silly, but the norm of the last month or so, really, especially with the new patch, seems to be that Zergs only attack in the late game. Solar, though, is soon going to be going up against Skytos. Fleet Beacon has been added on, and MaxPax went straight for 2 additional Stargates. Now, the problem I am seeing right here for Protoss is that he's not going to be able to really support triple Stargate off of 6 gas geysers. He really needs to secure that 4th sooner rather than later. If he wants to go into Tempests, or maybe even Carriers in this spot, he needs to get that gas count rolling in very, very rapidly here. This is actually a really nice map. I'm not sure how I feel about the snow falling down the entire time. The first times I've casted games on this map, the only thing I saw was the snow. When you start focusing on it, it's the only thing you see. But the map layout itself is pretty neat. Maybe we should not have snow all over the map. Maybe only like the main and the natural or something. Maybe in this section it's a little much. Anyways, the lurkers now are ready to knock down another 4th base. Solar has successfully shut down 3 of them already, right? Well, he's looking for another kill. There are Tempests in the mix now, and Hydras will be a difficult target to be killing those Tempests with. But I mean, as long as the lurkers are within range, it's only 2 Tempests or 3 Tempests at this point in time. This base is dead. Spire is cheaper now, so 150, 150, it builds a little quicker. So the transition towards those Corruptors is going to be smoother as well for Solar. I really, really like what Solar is doing in this game. Layers upon layers of Zerg aggression. It's like a cake, or an onion, or even an ogre. He needs to get rid of some of the supply too. He's preparing for a Corruptor transition. Hydra reinforcements with lurkers and Zerglings to boot as well on the left side. Trying to tear this small Protoss army into smaller chunks. Zerglings are running to the natural expansion. Ooh, there's the Hydras. Slithering away as well. Guys, I think what we are witnessing here is a Zerg player having fun. I know! A lot of Zerg players have been quite vocal lately that they are just a punching bag and they can't really attack anymore, yada yada yada. But Solar seems to be having a grand old time here. Little Zergling attacks, little Hydra attacks, multi-pronged harassment, follow-ups with lurkers. It's not that MaxPax even really misplayed. I feel like the biggest misplay was building the first 4th Nexus over here on the left. He's just been unable to really get the 4th base going. And while he's attempting to get that death ball out, I think it'll be very difficult to get that job done. The longer that these fights go on, right, and the longer that it takes to get the 4th base up and running, the less resources MaxPax is going to have, because the natural, the 3rd, the main base, all of them are going to run low. I mean, at this point, the 3rd still has some juice left in it, but we are like 5 minutes away from it being fully mined out. So it is going to be more and more desperate here as time goes on. Nice storm over here, though. You gotta move out of the storm these days. As he moved out and then moved back into it. I love how long that ability lasts these days. My god, did we just see a gross overextension? Maybe. But I think with 84 workers, even while donating the majority of his army, I mean, that was a misplay and a half right there from Solar. I think even after donating half of his army, it's still good enough-ish. Although he had to open up the piggy bank. Still at a 60 supply advantage, though, which is massive. But you can see that Storm is still very nice to have. Solar expected that he was going to be able to destroy the Protoss army. Walked out of the Storm, walked back into it, stood in it with his entire force on all sides. And now suddenly, I mean, MaxPax is seeing this as an opportunity to potentially be the aggressor again for the first time in like 5 minutes. Little Zealot run by as well on the left. Yeah, Storm just lasts so much longer, man. Another Tempest has gone down. Maybe we should see some Vipers added into the mix as well if we don't want to turn this into an all-in situation. Storm, by the way, so it deals more damage now in its total duration. But that's because it lasts longer. Its actual damage per second is down, meaning that it's better against sieged up units, like, for example, Lurkers. Is this the attack, though, that Solar is looking for? I think so. I think there's one more Storm available, and that's it right there. There might be another High Templar with energy, but I don't think there's really enough firepower left over. GG gets called. Solar evens up the score. Next up, we find ourselves on Mothership. Will we see a second Mothership on Mothership? We've had it once before. I like it just for the memes. I don't even really think it's that great of an idea. But just because the map is named Mothership, I feel like Protoss players will be more inclined to make one as well. It's as if your last name is Baker, I feel like the odds of you being I feel like the odds go up of you being a baker, right? If your last name is Fire Truck, you'll okay, maybe a bad example, but you get what I'm trying to say. I would love to see a Mothership on Mothership, just for the giggles. Nexus on the low ground for now. By the way, another map, yet again, that does not have a ramp leading up towards the natural. Isn't that interesting? I haven't really paid attention to this all too much, but it seems like pretty much all of the maps in this particular TOMC, this particular Team Liquid map contest, have a flat open terrain right outside of the natural. And I think it's specifically done to encourage more aggressive play. I like it. Back in the early days of StarCraft 2, everything used to be aggressive play. And then over the years, people got better. They figured out how to deal with all of those early game pushes. And if you continue that for about a decade or so, maybe even longer, right? StarCraft 2 now being 15 years old. At some point, players are used to defending against everything. They know how to deal with everything. And I miss some of that early game aggression. It's a bit of a disconnect. Because if you're a ladder hero, the lower you go up on the ladder, in Bronze League, basically everything is cheese. In Silver League, everything's cheese. In Gold League, pretty much everything is cheese. And then the higher you climb, the less cheese there is. I like the idea of introducing changes to the game that maybe encourage a little bit more aggression at the highest level, but it's really difficult to introduce changes like that and then still allow the game to be played on the ladder as well. Because, well, the simple truth is too that it's way easier to execute aggression than it is to defend against early game aggression. It's a difficult balancing act. So maybe just making the maps over here flat. Maybe that's the only encouragement that players like Solar really need to be giving those aggressive builds a try yet again. Oracle build here once more for MaxPax. No surprise. Although in the previous match, of course, we did see him go for a Void Ray first. Honestly, a very successful Void Ray, too. Got a little carried away at some point. Killing 4 overlords. But this, of course, is the norm. MaxPax, by the way, is somebody that makes small adjustments to the same build from game to game. So if you compare his strategies from series to series, he will oftentimes play identical ones. But within a series, while he will open up with similar builds, he will never go for the same one twice. It's all small deviations, be it in, for example, the units that he gets out of the gateways first. Sometimes he will go Adept Adept, sometimes he will go Adept Stalker. Sometimes he will go Void Ray first. So even though this has been a Stargate opener every single game so far, he's also keeping the opponent guessing by never quite doing the same thing. So now it's a double Oracle opener. Sometimes the follow-up is going to be different with the Twilight Council and the Forge. In game number 1, we saw a similar start to this. In that particular match, of course, we did have the Glaive Adept. So therefore, maybe I could make the assumption that this time around it is going to be Blink. No Forge yet, though, so we'll have to keep an eye out on it. What is it going to be? Oh, Archon drops. Really? So again, a deviation that we don't see all too often. I love it. Very quick Templar archives. At least I think this should be for Archon drops. Usually you do this off of 4 gates. And then a quick archives like this. Used to be a popular build in the early days of StarCraft 2. Used to be a popular build again as well, like 5 years or so ago. But we haven't seen it too much as of late. Energy recharge, of course, has been nerfed. It makes some of those strategies like this one that were maybe slightly less popular for some time, maybe once more a viable choice. So the idea is that you warp in 4 High Templar, morph them into Archons, and then start... I mean, we do need a 4th. Okay, we do have 4 gateways, I was going to say. It'd be really awkward if we have to wait a full cycle of warp-ins. Yeah, you start juggling these Archons. And this is one of my personal favorite builds. Just because there's so much skill expression. You could very easily lose this thing. Keep in mind that Spore Crawlers are buffed compared to last time when this build was popular. But Archons... Oh yeah, you can see, right? That Spore hits so bloody hard, man. Archons are 99% shields. And the shields will regen really quickly. If you lose the Prism, though, with 2 Archons inside of it... I mean, I don't want to say you should tap out, but maybe you should. I love the Oracles joining in the fray as well. No more anti-air available. Oh, come on. Come on, man. Obviously, they're circling harassment 2 on the other side, and MaxPax was probably not looking at that engagement the entire way through. Solar retargeting as well, but... Alright. It's fine. It's still a very cost-effective start, of course. And, I mean, with Storm now, I think being better than ever, maybe this build makes a lot of sense. So, rather than going Blink, we're going Archon drop into Quick Storm into Quick Charge. Which is kind of awesome. At least in theory, this build makes a lot of sense. Losing an Archon, though, is unnecessary. Protoss really cannot afford losses like that very well. And immediately, look at Solar. Solar's like, yo, bro, you're gonna give me some units? Send in the troops. We're going for aggression yet again. And this time around, we have the Grand March of the Overlords as well. Oh, circling run-by into the natural expansion is kind of messy. Stasis Ward coming up, but that means that the Oracles won't have energy for a whole lot more. But that Stasis is juicy. Just about perfect. Overlords are going to be dropping creep all over the place. Storm is going to be real useful, even against high HP units like Roaches. Protoss army is very disjointed. He needs to be careful with where he spends the energy of the High Templar. Immortal is not living up to its name. It ends up going down nice and quickly there. Stasis wards are very, very useful, but these units are waking up again. Another big, juicy stasis, or storm, rather. I think MaxPax is in a world of trouble. Yeah. Protoss is brutal like that. You lose an Immortal, you lose an Archon. Suddenly the match becomes a lot less playable. Sometimes it can be frustrating, right? Because we watched the Zerg player lose like 3 queens as well to the aggression earlier. But they can still go for pushes like this. Running through the storm is a very viable strat too nowadays, by the way. Usually you wouldn't want to do that in the previous version of the game. I mean, maybe this is still... Huh? Well, we had a similar situation in Game 1 where I kind of thought that MaxPax was dead, but then he still ended up winning. He actually does seem to stabilize with a decent economy. Immortal production's very high, by the way. He's got double Robo. So... Some form of detection here would be awesome. There we go. Revelation has been used. He cleans up the creep. I mean, there's so many Immortals in the mix now. Anything that Zerg has effectively dies to one shot. We did have one Overlord trying to go around the site, but it's going to be flying past, yeah, 2 photon cannons. Okay, needs to be retargeted into the main base. It's going to give MaxPax a moment as well to maybe warp in some reinforcements there, but he doesn't know if those Overlords are full or empty. Corrosive Balls into the natural expansion. One of the Robos is likely in trouble, but there is a second pylon keeping it online. Overlord drop is indeed going to be unloading right now inside of the main base. One of the Archons does end up falling. 8 Immortals are here. Storm is also so freaking powerful against these units. I honestly think you can just take the straight up fight. What about this push in the main, though? A couple of Zealots were warped in. We have a Zealot run by as well. In the meantime, on the other side of the map. That's big. GG? Wow. Dude. MaxPax's defensive play is kind of ridiculous. We had a similar spot in game number 1 where it looked like Solar was just like 1 second away from his opponent GGing. But MaxPax stays in here. He prepared a very quick second Robo. I didn't quite catch that he already added a second one of those into the mix. But then those Immortals just allowed him so much firepower in those engagements. It's difficult to dance, right, with all of your Protoss units around those different spots, but very impressive work. It is indeed the Protoss who obtains the victory, 2-1.